Microphone, don't lean back and talk, because then they can't hear you out here or in TV land. All right, so we're going to get going for the TV crew here in 5, 4, 3. Good evening, Canby. Welcome to the November 2nd, 2016 City Council regular meeting. If you'll please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Dear Lord, thank you so much for the leaders that we have assembled here this evening. Thank you for this amazing city. Thank you for all the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. We ask for wisdom. We ask for guidance as we lead the city in all of the city matters. Please protect our men and women in service, both home and abroad, and keep them out of harm's way. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Next on our agenda is an official presentation to Council Rocha, who tonight is your official last night as a city councilor. So I'm going to bring you down front here, sir. Yeah.
Really?
No. If the Indians lose, I might. Okay. So this is for you, Todd. Presented Todd Rocha in recognition and appreciation for 3 years of service on the Canby City Council and for your untiring dedication and commitment toward the betterment of the city of Canby during November 2016. The official piece, Todd, I just want to say thank you. We owe a lot to you regarding the work on this building and the pieces that you were able to bring together and help. Well, next up is the swearing in of our new city councilor. So I think I see Judge Graff here. No?
He said no?
I've heard, yeah, thanks. That's all right. Councilor Parker already told me.
I think that might be in your review, Jen.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Tyler Smith,
Having been duly appointed to the office
having been duly appointed to the office of the City of Canby, Oregon,
for not less than 12 months
for not less than 12 months
immediately prior to
the city council appointment,
and that I will support
and that I will support
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and the state of Oregon,
and the state of Oregon, office
of City Councilor
of City Councilor
of the City of Canby,
of the City of Canby,
Oregon,
Oregon,
to which I have been appointed.
to which I have been appointed.
So help me God.
So help me God.
City Administrator, we had a brief conversation. Are we taking a small hiatus here, or are we pressing forward? Okay, great. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Make the gauntlet. Great job.
Mr. Mayor, a point of order.
Yes, sir.
I understand that the web feed does not have audio, so just to alert our technical crew if they can do anything about that.
Okay, perfect.
Welcome, Counselor.
Mr. Smith, welcome aboard.
Thank you all.
All right, we'll get moving into communications.
Nothing to report.
Nothing right now. Great. First opportunity for citizen input and community announcements. This is an opportunity for audience members to address the council on items that are not on the agenda. Each person will be given 3 minutes to speak. If you want to fill out a yellow card, I think they're back there on the podium. I have a couple here, which we'll get to. So yes, if you are wanting to make a comment about anything not on the agenda or a community announcement, or if you sorry, we'll just leave it at that. First up is Karen Fenton about the council appointment. Good evening.
So, hello, my name is Karen Fenton, longtime Canby resident, and I'll read my note this evening. At last week's meeting, voting in Tyler Smith had every appearance of having been decided even before the session began. Several councilors spoke about how their decision to appoint him was based on his experience. However, even a curse, what does this say about his commitment to service, to which he gives only lip service? At last week's special session, I was shocked at the complete disregard that was shown to Tracy Height. She has served 2 long years right alongside all of the other councilors, and when she openly and rightly asked to open the meeting up to discussion, both from her own understanding of the issue and that of the public who had asked for discussion, she was ignored, and no discussion occurred with one another. Tyler Smith is on public record as saying, and I want to underscore, a primary task in local and state government must be the removal of all Democrats. I find this shocking, for it could not be a democracy without opposing points of view. Does Mr. Smith really believe that removing the opposition is his goal? Wouldn't this be called a dictatorship? Government in our country today has sunk to the point of being almost completely dysfunctional. True governance and justice comes from looking and listening to your opponent and saying that I may disagree with you on this issue, but let's have lunch together and see what we can agree on to move us all forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Rachel Hendricks Key. Good evening.
I'm Rachel Hendricks Key, and this is my summer home. I'm a student at Willamette University in Salem. I had heard from friends and family that Mr. Smith here was going to be put in as counselor, and I was shocked because I knew his history of being extremely exclusive and not at all accepting of people of different minorities. As a person who is part of the LGBTQ community, I find this insulting that my home is now at risk of not being accepting and inclusive, and I no longer feel comfortable here. And I want you to understand this from a point of view, from a youth and a young generation point of view, that I feel that you have closed that door by appointing him and not letting the people speak for what they truly want here. And I wish you would have done something different. I wish you would have listened to the people instead of appoint someone who does not represent this community at all and does not represent what the majority truly want. And I hope you can learn from this mistake and move forward and do better next time. Thank you.
Sharon. Marilyn Wood regarding Bridging Culture's Thanksgiving celebration.
I'm Marilyn Wood. I'm representing Bridging Cultures. I think this is a timely invitation. Bridging Cultures is a small nonprofit here in Canby, and our goal is to build relationships across cultural and economic boundaries. And to that end, we have one of the things that we do is a Thanksgiving celebration, and you have the invitations there in front of you. We hope that you'll be able to come. It is November 19th. It's a Saturday before Thanksgiving. It's a fun time with many different people, great people across our community, and it's free, so there should be no boundary for a reason why you don't come. So we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yes, the Bridging Cultures, Marilyn, thank you for that invite. For those of you that gave us a lovely flyer up here, it is on Saturday, November 19th from 5 p.m., starting at 5 p.m. at Baker Prairie Middle School. It's a great evening. We've got dinner, and it's, I think every year it's been a packed house at Baker Prairie Middle School in their cafeteria area, so please put it on your calendar. They had great music last year, and this year is Roberto, am I saying it correctly, Vasquez, who will be performing, so please mark it on your calendars for that. So thank you, Marilyn, appreciate that.
I left a few copies of the flyer back here.
Perfect. Thank you. Mayor's business. A couple of things on mine. Not much changed from the beginning of the month, the end of last month. We're moving into a new month, so C4 and all those fun things are coming back around. Leaves in the street. So I know my annual plea to
sit back and enjoy this.
to Canby citizens. So the street sweeper has an increased, we have 2 street sweepers. They have an increased activity this time of year, keeping the road drains and road gutters clear of debris. It gets amplified when everyone rakes their leaves into the street and expects our street sweepers to pick them up and take them back to the city shops and then dump them and start back over. I would ask that you please not do that. Last year, I brought up the idea of potentially looking at a leaf ordinance. I am hastened to bring that up again, though I'm still seeing quite a bit of leaves in street gutters and blocking and clogging our sewer drains for stormwater. So please do not rake your leaves into our lovely streets and have our street sweepers pick them up. Thank you on that. I want to thank the downtown businesses for the Halloween festivities and parade. Jamie Stickle and all the businesses did an amazing job. It was an incredible turnout this year. I was not here last year, but it was great. There were a ton of kids downtown, and it appeared to be everyone was having a great time. I also want to thank the organizers of the haunted house at the fairgrounds. It was very well done. I was thoroughly scared. Yeah, it was worth the $3 and the 2 cans of food, and my boys were equally frightened. It was tough to go through a haunted house when you've got a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old strapped to you. Yes, and for dear life, I might add. But they did a great job, and I highly recommend it for next year. Rick, I'll put you. I know you're probably going to save this, but I'm going to put it on the spot now regarding the parking, regarding the Hamlin project, if you want to address that. We had some dialogue, and I think Councilor Height shared a letter to the editor. It was in the paper about concerns about the parking that the project may present. And I know our economic development manager fielded some questions at the most recent Rotary lunch, and so I asked our city manager to maybe address some of those concerns and the parking pieces.
Yes, I'd be happy to. I did take a walk around the block today, the City Hall block, and that is the area on 2nd Avenue between Holly and Ivy, Ivy between 1st and 2nd, 1st between Ivy and Holly, and Holly between 1st and 2nd. So that one square block area, and counted the spots. And what I found was that on the south side, from North Ivy to Holly on 2nd, we have 9 existing spots, and these are all, the spots I'm going to identify now are all immediately adjacent and connected on the side of the street that the development is going to occur, with one exception, and I'll explain that one, and that's the 1st Avenue parking area that's between the railroad tracks and 1st Avenue. As clarification. So south side, North Ivy to Holly on 2nd Avenue, there are 9 existing spots, and when the development is completed, if approved by the Urban Renewal Agency, it will actually add 9 new spots, because all of the drives into those parking lots that are now city-owned parking lots will be shut off, and new parking spots will be created on the street, and that will add 9 new parking spots. The west side, 2nd to 1st on North Ivy, there are existing 5 spots there. The north side, North Ivy to Holly on 1st, there are 9 spots there. The east side, 1st to 2nd Avenue on Holly, there are 12 existing spots, and that is right in front of the old City Hall and the PD building, again immediately adjacent to that City Hall block. The apartment parking lot, when completed, we're estimating 35 new spots there, and then the 1st Avenue parking lot between Ivy and Holly, that's that one-way parking area between 1st Avenue and the railroad tracks, adds another 17 spots. So that'll total 96 parking spots immediately connected to that one block. Now there are others on the block that I haven't mentioned because they're literally across the street. So the north side of North Ivy to Holly on 2nd Avenue, there are 15 additional spots. The south side, North Ivy to Holly on 1st, there are 9 additional spots. The east side, 1st to 2nd Avenue on Holly, 12 additional spots. So the total on the opposite side on the streets adjacent to that city parking is 36 spots. So the grand total that we're expecting in that one city block is approximately 132 parking spots. So there are a lot of parking spots. I thought it was a very good exercise. I don't know, I haven't read the letter to the editor, but I think it's a relevant question and timely, and I appreciated the opportunity to go and provide a more exact number of what we expect to be available for parking for tenants of the apartment complex and those persons using the shopping and other amenities immediately adjacent to that area.
So I'm sorry, Rick, so when that project is complete, there'll be
132
versus now there are...
versus now, it adds 44 new spots is what it does. Yeah, and it doesn't take, none of this evaluation takes into consideration the fact that planning and finance and admin have all moved out of that area, and we were historically using the parking spots in and around the street, and all of the parking that used to be done by those persons visiting the library and library staff and it typically occurred on Holly between 2nd and 3rd, and on 3rd between Ivy and, is that Grant or Fir? And Ivy and Fir have all moved down to this end of the town, so that adds another 30 or 40 spots that have traditionally been used by city employees and patrons of City Hall and the planning department, and by patrons of the library.
Great.
It really does make a big difference.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate that. I'm going to go a little off the cuff here this evening. I understand that this process that we've just completed and have gone through to some was not ideal or what was wanted. And it's hard to sit up here and at times when we do make decisions like that, and not everything we decide to do is going to be agreed upon by everyone. I am pleased that people are engaged and people came and spoke to us and told us how they felt about the process and where we were at with what was going on. Yes, Councilor Smith has had outside activities, and yes, they have garnered some press and some media attention about it. I ask that those of you that have come and are concerned that, and he opened the door during the interview that he did, that you reach out to him and have conversation with him. Just as I would say that about any of us up here. We are, I think, now, I believe this to be a very engaging council. We are active in this community. We go to a number of events, and I believe that Councilor Smith understands that that is an expectation of this council, that you will be out there, you will be involved, and you will be engaging with the community in every aspect. I think it's not fair to him to burn him at the stake when he hasn't even gotten up here to be involved and make some decisions. Let him get it in, let him make some decisions, and then feel free to come and address how he may or may not be doing. I think that is only fair. You know, I would expect that of even if we have new councilors coming up here in the beginning of the year, give them an opportunity to come in here and see what they can do, see what decisions they do make. Because at the end of the day, during a campaign, it's a lot of conversation, it's a lot of, honestly, it's a lot of rhetoric, it's a lot of throwing things out there that may not necessarily be true, you know? And so I just ask that we take the time and get to know what each of these councilors are about before we start getting after them in quite the fashion. I understand there are concerns. I do. And I have encouraged Councilor Smith to reach out to those of you that have concerns and try to have conversation and find common ground. And I trust that he will do that, and I hope that you give him the opportunity to do that. Okay? We have we'll say I'm going to back up for a minute here because we have another community input from Teresa. Would you like to come up and, yeah, come here to the table there instead of, unless you want to wait till the very end of the meeting.
No, not really. I
All
have
right.
no idea what you're even talking about.
Well,
Thanks to Facebook, I'm here to put on your agenda the possibility of having a bottle drop in Canby. I've been a resident at Canby for 22 years, and I've been using the Oregon City bottle drop, and it's wonderful, and it's convenient and nice, and it would be wonderful if we put that on our agenda and work toward that.
you think that we need one? You're talking about one of the Oregon bottle drop pieces?
Yes, they're funded by the grocery stores, which the grocery stores collect. It would be wonderful, that's in the future, if we didn't even have a bottle deposit Washington State does not. You recycle everything. You don't go to the grocery store, pay your 5 cents. You never have to pay it. It just goes into your recycling like everything else. But in Oregon, we have our bottle deposit, and it's wonderful. The bags are recyclable. They are biodegradable. You fill it up, you have a barcode, you drive through, walk up there, and you can do 2 bags at a time and just toss them in. For Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, the kids that collect them, it's wonderful for them. It's clean, but you can't leave those bags sitting outside for very long. We just found out. They just fall apart.
Well, perfect. Well, Teresa, I did see that conversation and I appreciate you coming down and putting that bug in our ear. We'll definitely take a look and see what that feasibility is or what those requirements are. I know they're trying to expand that program in the area, so I appreciate that.
You're welcome, and good job, you guys.
All right. Thanks, Teresa. All right, we'll move into councilor comments and liaison reports. Councilor Smith, you're off the hook. So the first of the year. Mr. Parker, Councilor Parker.
Well, we had a bike and pedestrian committee meeting last week, and the bike committee is enthusiastic about the Canby area transit study. They're going to be scheduling a time to meet with the consultant and offer their input on how, from their standpoint of bicycle and pedestrians, ideas could be offered. As I explained to them, that these sort of studies are once every 10 years. So if you have an idea that you want to get in there, now's the time to toss that in terms of a master plan for our transit. The bike committee is also developing a bike route of historic cemeteries in the area. We're going to need some new board members. We have 2 vacancies right now, and our long-suffering chair, Liz Bell-Templeman, is going off the board in June. So we're going to need some folks that would be willing to serve on the bicycle and pedestrian committee. Also, from the Main Street standpoint, yes, I thought the Halloween was amazing. It's interesting, things that are out of your control can affect you. We had fewer retail participants because Halloween fell on a Monday, and some businesses are not open on Monday. So you can't do anything about the weather, can't do anything about the calendar. So next year, I don't know what day it's going to be on, but it's not going to be on a Monday, so that we can look forward to that. Let's see. Also, the Historic Review Commission is working on a local registration nomination of our old City Hall, and that's going to be at a public meeting here in the new City Hall next Monday at 5:30 to get that process going, so that regardless of whatever happens in terms of ownership of the old City Hall, it's going to always retain its historic nature, that new owners, new people who would lease it, however that comes out, that it's going to remain in its historic shape. And I think that's it, other than a report back from working in the Canby Public Schools, and what an interesting day in the classroom the day after Halloween is for our children and those who serve them.
It's been a while since you've had little kids at home for post-Halloween sugar highs.
Sugar rush, yes.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Councilor Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I likewise did partake in the parade with the mayor on Halloween. It was a lot of fun. All of our children dressed up, and thanks to the businesses who did participate, who were open for the day. And thanks to Hot Rod DreamWorks, who came from not being downtown, brought their little Halloween mobile with them, and actually it was brought up at the chamber lunch yesterday. that maybe we can find a way, I'll talk to Jamie about it and see if we can find a way to open that up to other businesses and maybe have little mobile stops along the way like they did. That was a lot of fun for them to be able to engage with those folks. C4 is tomorrow, so there's no report, obviously. I did want to mention, last month we had a representative here from A Safe Place. And I don't know if you guys got the little Clackamas County Sheriff's Office mailer, but I just wanted to pass on some kudos to them. The National Association of Counties recently presented Clackamas County with 5 achievement awards, and one of them went to A Safe Place. They got Best in Category for Criminal Justice and Public Safety. So I can't say enough about the good work that they do there, and if you need to find out more about A Safe Place, go to safeplaceclackamas.org. I'd encourage folks who are in need of those services to reach out. Finally, some veterans things coming up. The Sunday breakfast, this Sunday, the auxiliary is doing the community breakfast at the American Legion, 424 Northwest 1st Avenue. Use the First Street exit or entrance, 8:30 to 11:30 a.m., $6 adults, $3 kids. However, this time, because Veterans Day is right around the corner, if you are a veteran, you get to have your breakfast for free. And of course, the funds from those all go to veterans programs. And also on Friday, November 11th at 6 p.m. in the same hall upstairs above the Legion, there's a free spaghetti dinner on Veterans Day. And you don't have to be a veteran to attend. You may come and enjoy some spaghetti. New unwrapped gift donations are welcomed, and all those donations go to the Veterans Gift Shop. And that is my report this week.
That's on Friday, is this spaghetti?
Friday, yeah, on Veterans Day, Friday, November 11th, 6:30.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Height.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
So with the library, as we would have expected, usership is up, not only up, but way up.
That's right. Heard that.
So I don't know if you
great.
guys got the emails from the director, so from Irene Green. So October 2015, according to their people counter, 9,325 walked through the door. October 2016, and this was, we were closed for 10 days because we didn't open until the 11th, 16,790. So, pa-ching, yeah, very exciting. We built it, and they are coming, and it's very exciting.
Wow.
Yeah, really great, great. The Library Foundation, at our last official meeting, they had their film festival, well received, well attended. I think nearly 80 people showed up, 11 films, from 4 minutes to 15, I think. And I hear a lot of millennials came, so yay, we're reaching the younger folks, and I'm so glad that that demographic is being reached via the foundation. And so there, even one high school group apparently had an entry, and I'm sure next year it'll be our high school that has several. So anyway, great start there with the foundation. Kudos to them, and I'm excited to see where they run with that. Very good. Meeting rooms, by the way, in the new building are going like hotcakes, too. We've got meeting rooms, people are, using them, small groups, study sessions, so all good. And then 2 programs. There's the Day of the Dead celebration. We do that every year at the library. I think Angelica will put it on. So it's this Friday at 5, and there's no school that day either, so there'll probably be a lot of kids. But they're doing stories, and they're making skull cookies, or they're decorating them in the apropos way of the Day of the Dead style, so that'll be a lot of fun, I think. And then there's an adult program on November 15th at 6:30. It's called Fly Gals, Women Air Force Service Pilots in World War II. So that's kind of timely with Veterans Day as well. So lots of great programmings, but those are just 2. And then with Canby Area Transit, Julie Whaling, the director, just wanted me to announce that the buses will not be running on Thanksgiving Day, but they will be running on Veterans Day and the day after Christmas and the day after New Year's Day. So just to give a heads up to the public ridership. And also their meeting is always welcome to the public. Everyone can attend their board meetings. And their next board meeting will be the 17th of November. Usually it's on the 3rd Thursday anyway, because of Thanksgiving, different date. All are welcome, come on over, and it's just in this meeting room over here. The Adult Center, they have a program that's going to be November 16th at 1. It's called Home Choice home care choice. And so I'll just read. It's a new in-home services program offered by the Oregon Home Care Commission for people that are going to use their own funds to pay for at-home help. So there's a certain group of folks that would benefit greatly from this. So if you know anybody, send them over there November 16th. The school district, the CARE Award, I like to talk about that every month. So in October, it was Diane Holm, who's the school district nurse, who works tirelessly, apparently. I don't know her personally, but apparently evenings, weekends, calling parents, finding resources, doing research for individual students. So she's kind of she's the hero of the month for all she does for our local students. And then the Canby Reads program, that came out in the Herald today. There's a nice release there, a news release. It basically, what that is, it's encouraging a love of literacy and reading in kids and trying to get them reading ready up to grade level by 3rd grade. So that rolled out in October. The featured school was Trost, as I mentioned a couple weeks ago. In October, now it's Eccles in this month of November. So my Eccles kid came home with a little passport, and she's all excited. If she reads 3 books, then she goes to get a donut at Thriftway. And she's wanting to read short books. Like, no, you have to read longer books. You don't read some, 3-page book. She's not going to cheat, I promise. But anyway, for every 3 books, there's some sort of treat you get. And other people that are participating, quite a few, there's a lot of partners. Let me just read. It's pretty amazing what we're doing in Canby. So the Foursquare Church is partnering, Cutsforths, McDonald's, Burgerville, the Chamber, the Canby Center, Canby Public Library, and the Canby City Council were mentioned as well. We're not giving out anything. But the prizes, though, will be from Thriftway, McDonald's, and Burgerville. So I just wanted to give kudos to Canby for doing this. It's great. Other things I attended were the Clackamas City Association dinner was in Oregon City at the end of last month, and they presented on their new library, which had a grand opening the same day. And Mo, the library director, presented to us, slideshow, long history of what that project was about. It was like 10 years in coming. They have their historic Carnegie building there that they built onto. Anyway, the public loves their building, as our public loves ours. But I thought, well, maybe we can show off our building when we host in future, something to think about. Yeah. And then lastly, Halloween was incredible. And I think so many kids came to the library. I think it was maybe 10 times more than usual, because my kids and I go every year to the library to see what's going on. But there were masses and masses, and it was just incredible. So go Canby. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Great Halloween costume, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Princess Leia. That's right.
Yes, question?
Question for Councilor.
Yeah.
I thought maybe it would be a good idea to inform the public, since we have TV time. I know they're watching the game, but they'll watch it on repeat. How does the public go about getting those meeting rooms reserved?
Oh, so you go to the reference desk, the central hub reference desk, and you sign up. Just pick your day and hour, and yeah.
Yeah, just thought everyone should know how easy it is.
Sure, yeah, thank you. Or call the reference desk, and they'll happily sign you up. Yeah.
Great.
That's what I got.
Great. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Coleman. Yes,
my
sir.
wife and I also attended the haunted house at the fairgrounds and got a good scare. That was a lot of fun. We had 68 trick-or-treaters this year. I kept a good count at home. That was fun. On the Planning Commission front, our next Planning Commission meeting is scheduled for Monday, November the 14th at 7 o'clock. And we have 2 candidates we will be meeting with to interview for the openings on the Planning Commission. So very much appreciate the community's support and willingness to volunteer. On the traffic safety front, normally we meet at the Public Works Conference Room, but this time, thanks to our city manager, we're meeting on Monday, November the 7th, just next door in the Willow Creek Room at 8:30. And then, Mr. Mayor, you had asked with Councilor Roca stepping down if I would oversee the fire report, and they meet once a month at I think it's on the 4th Wednesday, and that conflicted with our last special meeting. So with your permission, I asked Chief Davis if he would come up and give us an update on the happenings at the fire department. And I know Dr. Richard Davies, who'd been with the fire department for many years, just had a party. So I'll let Chief Davis tell us.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor.
Hi, Chief.
City Council, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, go Cubs.
Did you say go Cubs? That's all right.
You only get 2 minutes instead of 3.
Yes, we did celebrate Dr. Richard Davies' retirement as our physician advisor, but more importantly, after 38 years of service to the to the fire department. And his dad started as the physician advisor for the fire department, and then he followed up with that. So it's a long legacy for Doc Davies to be our physician advisor. So we had a very nice recognition for him the other night, which is on the front page of the Canby Herald this week. Also like to thank Councilman Rocha for being the liaison to the fire district. He attended pretty much all of our meetings, missed very few, and kept our board well praised as to what was going on at the city at the time. We've been very, very busy with retirements. We've added 2 new firefighters last month, and we started 2 more firefighters this month to start our second daytime paramedic unit that we promised the voters that we would do with the levy increase that they overwhelmingly approved last year. So I'm pleased to announce that that unit is in service now as of November 1st, and it runs on Tuesday through Friday, 10 hours a day. But more importantly, those medics are very busy also doing community paramedic programs where they'll follow up with patients that are repeat patients. So we try to keep and find out what the issues are around the house so that we don't continue to see them on a regular basis 4, 5, 6 times a month. We'll go and visit them and see what we can do to help them out around their house to avoid slips and falls and check medications and things like that. So that unit is very busy besides just responding, other than just responding to emergency calls. Good news too, the new engine that the Urban Renewal Agency approved is en route as we speak. It's en route to Spokane and should be here by the middle of November. We hope to have it in service around the 1st of December, around the 15th of December. We are starting, the board of directors and staff are busy updating our strategic plan. Believe it or not, it's been 2 years since we went through our strategic planning update, and we've accomplished a number of those strategies and goals that we identified in the strategic plan. So we're in the process of updating the strategic plan, and I'll work with Rick, and perhaps once we update that, give a short presentation to the council, let you know what that strategic plan looks like as we move forward. And lastly, we have a number of events coming up right around the corner. It's tough to believe that it's almost time for Light Up the Night again and the parade, as well as Breakfast with Santa and various events that the fire department participates in as well. But it's tough to believe it's that time of year already. But thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
I just wanted to thank the fire department. A week and a half ago, they, in a moment's notice, put together the CPR class for a bunch of the coaches in town. And it was a fantastic presentation, particularly because there was a computer problem. And so the paramedic and the other, I think, EMT that was there quickly shifted from what was going to be a computer presentation, and they gave a fantastic CPR training program on the fly without, any of their tools that they had, or the electronic tools. So thank you for doing that for the sports programs.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Chief.
No, Chief just reminded me of something about Light the Night, and I wanted to not forget to mention something in my report there, that it is not too early to get a hold of Jamie. She's actually starting right now accepting applicants, I guess you'll say, or for participants in the Light the Night parade. So we want to get as many of our downtown businesses involved as possible, and nonprofits and all things are welcome to participate in that. So get a hold of Jamie Stickle if you would like to be in the Light Up the Night parade.
Perfect. Thank you. Councilor Coleman, did you have any other items this evening?
No, sir.
All right. Perfect. Thank you all. We'll move into the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda, which consists of the approval of minutes of the October 19th, 2016 City Council regular meeting.
Thank you.
Push it harder.
Motion's been made by Councilor Hensley and seconded by Councilor Parker to approve the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the October 19th, 2016 City Council regular meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes, I gotta do my math, 5-0.
Mr. Mayor, I did abstain on that because I participated in the annexation at the Planning Commission levels, so I abstained from voting on that particular
Thank you, sir. We'll go 4-0-1 on that. Thank you, sir. We'll begin moving into resolutions and ordinances.
The first item we have is ordinance 1449. This is proclaiming annexation into the city of Canby, Oregon of 1.65 acres of real property described as tax lot 1800 of section 28 T3S R1E WM Assessor Tax Map 3-1E-28DD and 0.15 acres of Northeast Territorial Road right-of-way and amending the zoning and county rural residential farm forest 5-acre RR FF5 to city medium-density residential R-1.5 and setting the boundaries of the property to be included within the city limit, and approving a development agreement by and between the City of Canby and John Meredith, property owner, for 1.65 acres of land. And this is before you for second reading.
Great. Kim, thank you. So we had this before us earlier in the month, and this is just that. It's another property annexation here in Canby of, I think, very important medium-density residential housing over there off of Territorial. And I think we've got...
This is one that
Mr. Mayor, this is the one I meant to mention. I participated at the Planning Commission level, so I wanted to get that out there.
Gotcha. Thank you. Yeah, so this is, I think, a crucial piece for annexation and development for sure. So I will, if there's any questions or conversation.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt ordinance 1449 proclaiming annexation into the city of Canby, Oregon, 1.65 acres of real property described as tax lot 1800 of section 28 T3S R1E WM Assessor Tax Map 3-1E-28DD and 0.15 acres of Northeast Territorial Road right-of-way, and amending the zoning from counting rural residential farm forest 5-acre RRFF5 to city medium-density residential R-1.5 and setting the boundaries of the property to be included within the city limit and approving a development agreement by and between the City of Canby and John Meredith, property owner, for 1.65 acres of land.
Second.
Rick, did you have something you needed to add?
No, I was just going to say that that at the meeting that this was considered, you did conduct a public hearing, you took testimony. Our Community Development Director, Planning Director, Brian Brown, did provide to you the information necessary for you to make the determination that the property was appropriate for annexation and did meet all the conditions.
Thank you. Does your motion still stand then?
Yes.
You still on?
Motion still stands.
Her motion still
Yes.
stands. Perfect. Motion's been made by Councilor Hensley and seconded by Councilor Coleman to approve ordinance 1449, proclaiming annexation into the city of Canby, Oregon, 1.65 acres of real property described as tax lot 1800 of section 28 T3S R1E WM Assessor Tax Map 3-1E-28DD and 0.15 acres of Northeast Territorial Road right-of-way, and amending the zoning from County Rural Residential Farm Forest 5-acre, or RRFF5, to city medium-density residential R-1.5, and setting the boundaries of the property to be included within the city limit, and approving a development agreement by and between the City of Canby and John Meredith, property owner, for 1.65 acres of land. And this is second reading, so roll call vote.
Councilor Smith?
Abstain.
Councilor Parker?
Yes.
Councilor Hensley?
Aye.
Councilor Height?
Aye.
Councilor Coleman?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0-1. Thank you.
The next item we have is ordinance 1450. This is an ordinance, amending Canby Municipal Code, Chapter 9.28, Section B, regarding noise control standards and definitions in the city of Canby.
And I can say a few things about this. A few meetings ago, one particular gentleman came in, and the council was responsive to him because he had an issue with a neighbor who was playing loud music from a band between the hours basically of 5 and 10, which has a separate decibel level than after 10. and was very frustrated at the lack of ability on the part of our law enforcement to go and cite him for the violation of being in violation of this particular ordinance because of this section mostly, and it's because of how we defined what instruments we could use to measure sound. And in the time that this was first written and the standard was made, technology's obviously advanced and become cheaper. And so basically we simplified, took out just a language that required specific types of calibrated sound instruments and just required the more generalized type of calibrated instrument that arguably would be better nowadays than it was back when this was instituted anyway, but is a lot more cheaper and readily available if we just simply change the wording. The effect of this is to go from something that can measure sound, you're standing across the street and supposedly it will give you a reading within, less than half of a decibel, to an instrument that allowably will be within 1.5 decibels, which may sound important if you're right on the line, but if you're 20 decibels over already, there's no sense in having to go spend $2,000 for an instrument when you can go spend $100 and get an active reading. And what this will do also is allow our law enforcement to respond between the hours of 5 and 10. Our code enforcement officer doesn't usually work, and so it would be overtime for her to have to go out during those times and be called in. The other thing is she was going to have to be required to be tested on or trained from a specific organization, the DEQ, which is an odd place to have to go to get sound, qualified. But it takes away that qualification because I believe that the idea is that these things, you can be trained on them basically by the booklet that comes with them, to the effect that you can use them in the way that the rest of the ordinance stays the same in a normal-like manner, and we're using stuff that is still industry standard, but it just isn't so stringent that it is going to cost thousands of dollars. We don't have to necessarily have the one person in our organization be called out overtime because they're the only ones with the training to use it. And therefore we can put it in numerous vehicles, and when we can be responsive then. And mostly it's so code compliance is, or in the code enforcement world, compliance is key. So the idea is compliance. So now we can have an officer on their porch within minutes, our response time's pretty good here in town, with a thing that shows them the number of how loud they're being. And hopefully that just gets compliance in that regard. So this was a quick fix because I know you guys wanted us to be responsive to a need in our community, and hopefully this does the trick. I would suggest that you move to pass this amendment to this ordinance.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Joe. Yes, Councilor Parker.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Ordinance 1450, amending the Camden Municipal Code, Chapter 9.28, Section B, regarding noise control standards and definitions in the city of Canby.
Second. Oh, second.
3 seconds. There you go.
I couldn't have it. It was his idea. Yeah.
All jumping on tonight.
All excited for this.
Motion's been made by Councilor Parker and seconded by Councilor Coleman to approve Ordinance 1450, amending Canby Municipal Code, Chapter 9.28, Section B, regarding noise control standards and definitions in the city of Canby. Any other comments or questions? Councilor Parker.
Yeah, it's not often that we are able to have a citizen, as we did with Mr. Thomas, walk in last month and say, I've got a problem here. Your codes didn't anticipate this when it was written, and that we're able to turn it around within a month thanks to our attorney preparing this language. So this was a time that we were able to do something that was responsive, and I'd like to thank Joe for getting us this ordinance as quickly as he did.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Wright?
Yeah, so let me summarize, make sure I get the main points. So there's no training that's required now. Like before, it was kind of cumbersome. So boom, anybody can use it basically on the force.
Yeah,
is what you're saying.
and therefore we wouldn't have to also bring in an expert witness, which can be very expensive in the event that somebody actually doesn't comply, and then there's a violation, and then they can always go to court and argue it. Well, we don't then have to bring in an expert, who's trained in the matter. We can rely on our officers with, a generalized training in it, but not a very specific training that I hear is expensive and wasn't going to be able to be given to every single officer. So, if that makes sense.
And now every single officer can have access to one of these devices. That's the idea.
Yeah, or at least they can make decisions. If they want to be frugal, they might put it in every sergeant's vehicle. Was some of the discussion, because there's only supposed to be a sergeant that's supervising, so there's always going to be one around. So maybe not every single car, but save some money that way, but also make them available.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to compliment our city attorney, our city manager, and all of us working together to really tackle this problem in a creative manner, and I'm proud of the job we did on.
Councilor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also would like to speak to the language that was chosen. I think it was a great selection of the language. I do have personal experience with these kinds of sound tests, and they are not, we've hired sound engineers to do these kinds of tests with that fancier equipment, and it is expensive, and it's not perfectly accurate for a novice to do it. It's more complicated. So I like the use of the ANSI standard instead. And then with respect to the DEQ discontinued its sound control program some 10 years ago or something like that and stopped funding it completely. So that's not even a possibility as far as I know. They completely discontinued their statewide sound control program. So I think that was absolutely great to take out.
Okay. All those in favor of passing ordinance 1450, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? That passes 5-0.
The next item we have is ordinance 1451. This is authorizing a contract with R.L. Reimers Company for the 2017 wastewater sludge storage improvements and declaring an emergency.
Yep.
I will push the button and then respond to this particular item. We did receive 9 bids, of which 8 were responsive and responsible. The low responsive and responsible bidder was R.L. Reimers Company for $1,951,125. This project is the third year in a 5-year capital improvement plan to upgrade our wastewater facility. Last year, you completed and approved a biosolids loadout building. The previous year, a headworks rehabilitation. This current project provides some additional storage and waste sludge handling processes to allow us to maintain control of the sludge after it's produced until it can be loaded into the trucks and hauled off under the contract that we have for this purpose. Originally, 2 tanks were proposed as part of this year 3 improvement. After doing some further research, it was determined that 2 of the storage tanks would be adequate to meet our 20-year window that we're trying to focus on. So the original plan was modified to 2 years, which allowed us to include some of the additive alternates that we were not or would not have been able to add had we not gone back to one rather than two holding facilities. We've added concrete pad restoration, site corrosion repairs, handrail restoration, lab building expansion, a primary sludge vault restoration, some solids handling, building modifications, restoration of our lime silos, and biosolids loadout building air louvers, which help the airflow function a little more smoothly. Right now what we're having to do is lift the doors up a little bit so that the air can flow appropriately through. One of the good outcomes that we expect to be able to take advantage of is that the improvements that were made in each of the last 2 years not only addressed specific needs, but also addressed the odor problems that were prevalent in the use of that facility. And we didn't really expect that we would have quite the success that we have had in dissipating the odors and being able to address the odor issue. But what has resulted from that benefit is that we probably won't need to do a large part of our year 4 capital improvement plan, which could save us in excess of $1 million. We do have some plans for that coming up, but it is good news that the engineering that Karen McLeod has done and the work that Dave Connor and his staff at the wastewater treatment facility have done has been really on point and has really helped us to address not only our ongoing handling requirements, but also have helped greatly to address the number of complaints that we've received, that we typically receive through the general day-to-day operation of our wastewater plant. Staff recommendation is for approval of the contract as proposed.
Question, yeah?
Question for Rick. Well, just for the viewing audience, so they don't blow up my phone, explain the use of the emergency clause, please.
Yes, and I had actually asked them to put that in this particular report, and I didn't read it. That last sentence. I know that I would ask you to approve